Alright guys, how's it going? I know it's been a minute since I filmed a video, but between New York winters and work and all that stuff, I didn't get a chance, so I'm not going to bore you guys with that. But I do have a big update on the Corvette, and I'm going to start you guys off with the small stuff. Sorry. We got the brakes out. So I'm going to do a separate video on like what we're doing with the brakes. But this is one of the front ones. You can see everything was completely gutted out. And one of these, this is the front, this is the front, this is the rear. These got to be, you know, taken apart next. So that's going to be in a whole separate video. And this is the color combo. I still got to throw some clear. We thought about sanding this down and having a like smooth and flat finish. But honestly, it's going to require so much work that at that point, you might as well order a big brake kit. So as of now, until we get the money for one, this is what they're gonna, look like. We're gonna clear them, make them a little more glossy, but that's it. We're not gonna sand that. It's way too much because, like, you guys can see all these little crevices will need to be sanded. It's gonna take maybe 2-3 days per brake, so it's not really worth it. All right, this is my little 2-quart that my brother got for my birthday. But yeah, let's get to the Corvette. That's just a little project that I'm flipping for somebody, so ignore it. But yeah, the fender's completely bonded in. Let me get you guys some better angles. I still need to finish a little sanding. I'm just waiting for, I ordered some glazing putty. So I just gotta line up. As you guys can see, that line kind of does a little weird thing. So that line needs to be fixed right here real quick, but that's just shadowing. And right here, this is where this area right here has some gel coat that's built up, so I can sand down a little bit. But yeah, going with the spoon style fenders. The bottom, this I'm not sure if we're cutting off and bonding, because down here I didn't bond yet. I need to lift the car up to bond, as you guys can see. This is all gonna be grinded down and bonded. Let me show you. Same thing with down here. Once I lift the car up, I'm gonna go ahead and fill in this with fiberglass bondo right here, as you can see. But this entire fender. So what we did, let me see if we get a better angle inside. So we cut the old fender out, and we laid about 2-inch, 3-inch strips of fiberglass along this whole thing. There was a big channel that we cut out into the original body and the new fender. To lay this one in there, fiberglass over, you could actually see some of the fiberglass right here. Pretty smooth. We got it, where we wanted it to. So now we're gonna glaze over the whole thing, just get rid of all these little pinholes and any, sorry. Yeah, so right here we're just gonna glaze over this whole strip just to cover up, this exposed fiberglass or expose any pinholes or anything like that. I need a light body filler to cover that up. So that's the reason I paused on that in this video, because I'm waiting for that to come in. But the front end, you guys can see, I started, ignore because it's not aligned right now, but that black all needs to come off. I cut this off already. I started sanding it. You guys can see there's still a little bit left over there, but that's just to give me the rough shape of the front end. I'm probably gonna pull the nose in a bit more, because as you guys can see, it's tight here and it opens up. I just wanted to give myself space here just in case I want to pull the nose further, because it's easier to cut it back than to extend it out. For the sides, I felt like this was the appropriate length sticking out. Like right here was appropriate length sticking out for this car. I had it out further by here, but it just, I don't know, it just felt weird. So right now I'm gonna be working this section right here going forward. until the filler shows up and I could continue finishing that fender. But yeah, that's kind of like the progress. We did start foaming up this side, but that's just, you know, while we were waiting for something to cure, we just threw a little foam over there. Alright, so as you guys saw me right here, I put, this is actually jointing compound for like drywall and stuff like that. It actually dries really well, it sands really good, and you could just, you know, if you put a lot, it's gonna take a couple of days to dry, but if you layer it up like this thin, an hour it'll be dry. I paid for $10-15 for this whole bucket compared to Bondo, which is like $20-30 a gallon. And this is just for mold making. So once I fiberglass this off, pop the mold off, this is garbage. Why waste all that money when, you know, you have cheaper options? So right now I'm gonna take this ruler because the plan is I want to have this body come into the bumper. So I'm just gonna be taking it and let's see, we're gonna start ourselves. So there we go. Now I can see that in the middle here I need to add a little bit. So just, and don't be afraid to use whatever tools you have to your disposal. You guys saw I was mixing with a crowbar, so okay, so that's pretty much as flat as I want to get it without sanding. And I might have to add more, I might not. I'm not sure yet, so we'll see. But yeah, so that's kind of like the process of what I was doing with this first fender, the one you see right here. Everything was foam and fiberglass, so it was expensive. It was a lot hard to sand, but we got it done. The front bumper I actually learned from Tofu Auto Works. I might have posted a video about the hood, but I don't remember. But he uses this for his mold making, so that's where I got the idea from, and I love it. So yeah, use a crowbar if you have to mix this stuff, because it, you know, we left it out in the garage over the winter, so I guess the moisture went up, so I just mixed it up and it's fine now. But yeah, let's let things dry and keep sanding. Alright, so now, while that stuff dries, oh, sorry, that's why you don't wear slippers. While that stuff dries, I'm actually gonna be removing this wheel because I want to start. As you can see, this is just leftover gel coat, but this thing was cracked when we first got the car. You could just see the condition of it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take these bolts out. Obviously, I gotta remove the wheels first. I'm gonna bond the back here and kind of like fix all this damage, sand it flat, put the bolts back in, and just make this and this one piece. Because right now, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a separation line right there that I need to fix before I go ahead and fill in. Here, let me just set up. So the goal is I'm gonna fill in this whole thing with foam on the inside, kind of just like a gap sealer, and then I'm gonna build a fiberglass fender well, and then, you know, treat it with some, you know, bed liner or whatever, something resistant, just so it looks good underneath there. But yeah, let me go take this thing off. that could have been bad. But that was almost bad, but it's okay because all that this stuff has to be grinded off. I don't know why it's not focusing. Come on, focus, sucker. There you go. I caught the lip a little bit, but it's okay because you can see. We get this side's a good example. So I cut all this down, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill it up with foam and bridge this over. I might cut back a little bit more, but I think that's fine. You can see more in here too. And ignore the spacers. For right now, spacers is the plan until we could afford proper wheels. But yeah, so now to get started working down there, the issue is here. So here you can see, so it's gonna sit like this, right? But I gotta bridge these two. So I'm thinking about just making another cut like this and bridging down. This is gonna be the trickiest area to bridge, to be honest. But it's okay, because I brought the fender out just a little bit here, because so the OEM, they have very, like, this came down, so it had very big wheel wells, so I had to like shrink it just a little bit on both sides, but not much. But yeah, let's see where this goes. Let me set myself up to start grinding, and I'll show you guys the process. Okay, as you guys saw, I had to grind a lot of crap out just to. So now I'm using fiberglass Bondo with fiberglass hairs mixed in it, just to bond the back. While, you know, most of this stuff is gonna be grinded off, but this is just to hold it in place while I could go ahead and laminate. You know, a strip of fiberglass there just to get it, you know, like pretty much solid. And depending how good of a hold this is, because there's a metal bracket that holds this piece, so the only piece that's broken is really here. So I might not even need to laminate this piece itself, just the fender to this piece. Might need a little lamination, but it's not a big deal. So now, that is pretty much. So now that's held in there. That's held in there by the fiberglass Bondo. I'm gonna let it fully tack up. Maybe try and hit it from behind a little bit just to get a little better hold, because I'm gonna have to sand this section off a little bit. Not all the way off, but just to make it flat to where I could apply fiberglass to bond this. And this, I don't have foam, so I can't attempt to hit this now because I need to fill in this cavity with foam, like that, the self-rising foam. I could go ahead and because I have like regular packing foam, and I thought I could like cut it out and shove it in there, because I know like some most manufacturers, they have that foam in the fenders right here, but I'd rather just do the self-rising foam, and like this I could get it in there nice and expand, you know, it'll create, like, let's say somebody leans against the fender. Right now it's solid, it's not going nowhere, but I hopefully, you know, that foam acts like gives it a little more density. So I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, let me see if the front is done, and we can go back on that. So that's another thing why these cars take such a long time to build, especially if you do it yourself, is you have so many, like, let's say you're doing the front end and you're applying primer or filler, or, you know, joining compound I'm using. Now you gotta wait for that to cure, so now you gotta come on this side, and while this side's curing, you go back to that, but then this might be forgotten for a day or two. So it's like, it's a back and forth process, you know. You can't really just take this fender, like, I'm gonna finish it right now, because certain steps, like when you're laminating the fender onto the body, you can't touch that for a few hours or days depending on the resin you use. So now you can't just sit there and do nothing. You gotta go to the next side. Let me go reposition the camera, clean up my mess. Alright, so as you guys saw, I was using this is dry guide coat, and so what I'm doing right now, while everything else is curing, like the Bondo and the filler, I'm going ahead and prepping the surface of the fender and the time lapse that you guys saw. I'm using 150 or 120 grit, one of those two. Let me tell you right now, 120. So I'm using 120 grit on that fender. I want to get it smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and I ordered the Golden Glaze by U-Paul. It's a very, very light filler, because this is the one I'm using for like heavier, like spots that need a little more work. I'm using this special light UCS filler, so that's been pretty good, cheaper than Bondo, and it's honestly the same exact finish. So my goal right now is, I don't know if you guys can see it on camera. Let's see, I still need to do a little sanding in these areas, but let me see if I can find a better side. Like, see these right here, these little marks from the mold, because the mold wasn't a perfect mold. Like right here, you can see the fiberglass come through, like these little pinholes. Let me see if this catches on camera. But there's like a lot of little, like that right there is a pinhole that's filled with dust. See right there. So the Golden Glaze, I'm really gonna do the whole thing, but in a very, very, very thin skim coat. That maybe sand it with like 200 or 250 or something like that. Just so when I go ahead and use the high build primer, it's gonna look really nice. And the color we're gonna paint this car, if you see any pinholes or waves or whatever, it's gonna really show in the color, especially in the sunlight. So that's what I'm using, you know, going through all the extra steps, just get it as solid as I can. So it's gonna, you know, a lot of sanding, a lot of repetition, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be worth it. And let me show you guys a sneak peek of the color combo. I posted this on Instagram before, and I probably talked about it in a few videos, but it's gonna be, this is not the color. So this is Maui Blue by Rust-Oleum, but we're painting it Miami Blue. And what I've been thinking, so Miami Blue is like trademarked by Porsche. I think it's like $1,000 a gallon. So I might go to a paint shop and see if they could custom mix a paint color that's similar to Miami blue, but I want to add a little more. Like Miami blue is a very pastel, like it looks almost like clay, but it's like metallic, like it's glossy, not metallic. So I want to do Miami blue, but with like metal flakes or kind of like a pearl on it, so it's like it glistens. Because the theme of the car is gonna be straight up like Miami Vice, like 80s, you know, Miami blue, white wheels, white interior. The brakes are gold, the engine block is gold, and some pink stitching. I know that's gonna be a little controversial right there, but like I feel like those four colors are really gonna make this car pop, especially the body kit, loud exhaust, you know, crazy cam. But yeah, so right now I'm gonna take a little break on the car because I'm getting sore. It's just cleaning up because I'm only working on the car like every, you know, morning, a few hours in the morning here and there. So if weather permitting, obviously. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean up. If the glaze shows up in this video, I'm gonna post it. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, this is the start of day 2, and this is what we're doing. We're using this gold glaze on this whole top half. As you guys can see, I left the guide cord on the bottom because I didn't get there yet. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna gold glaze the top, let that settle, and then do the bottom, and just, you know, hopefully get this fender pretty much dialed in, besides bonding the fender well for today. And this didn't dry yet because the weather outside is really crappy here in New York. It was like 45 degrees last night. Majority of it did, but the section I had to go a little heavier to fill in the valleys are still a little soft. That's pretty much dry right there, but it's not a big deal. I'm not in a rush, so right now I'm just gonna try and focus on this. Alright, so as you can see, I don't know if you guys caught it in the time lapse, but so I had to do, because I don't have a big mixing board, I had to do 2 passes, the top, this section, and then the bottom. While I was putting the bottom section on, I kind of like messed up the top a little bit because the top was curing, the bottom wasn't, and I kind of like in that area, but it's okay. So I'm gonna let this cure. Go ahead, put here, and then put here, and then I'll show you the sanding process. But get you guys up close and personal. So this stuff lays down, like you can see right here is where I messed up. Like I was laying this down nice, so you can see how smooth it's coming out. And then I went up there and it just dragged the squeegee but across everything. So I'm just gonna let it cure. Like this is the look you want, you know. So I could hit it with 150. Sand all that off, and it'll look like most of this stuff will come off, but you just want to fill in, like you can see all these little pinholes that are getting filled in. There you go, there you go. So that's the goal. flaps, I pretty much coated this whole thing. There's a couple areas that need a little bit more sanding or bondo. I still haven't gotten down all the way yet, but like even like right here, like you guys can see, like there's a lot of spots that are like, zoom in. There's a lot of spots like, if you look like right here, this is like perfect. This is where you want the oh, sorry for the, I just bumped the camera, but yeah, like this is where you want it, where it's like you can see where the hole was, but it's smooth. You know, obviously I'm gonna go over everything without the gloves on just to be 100% sure. But like right here, I need to add a little more bondo because this is all perfect. Again, I bumped the camera, sorry, it's just a tripod. But what I was doing in the last clip, I was rebuilding this edge. So the edge is there. I overfilled it. As you guys can see, there's a lip there right now. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna sand from one surface from the top, and then sand from this surface from the side, get a sharp point, and then I'm gonna go ahead and use like a 250 or whatever just to round everything off and give it a nice crisp line. Alright, sorry, I had to take a phone call. But yeah, so right now the goal is, so the top half is pretty much all sanded down. I gotta do a little sanding in a couple spots. I'm gonna get that crispy line going. Then I'm gonna go ahead and do the bottom half. Either, I don't think I'm gonna have time today, but either in tomorrow's video, I'm gonna start on the bottom half and the lip. I ordered the foam so I could fill in the backing. I could sand that off, make a nice crisp line, and you know, go from there with laminating the fiberglass. And then once that's done, I could go ahead and move towards the front of the car. But yeah, like, see, yesterday I was showing you guys, this stuff is drying really fast out in like the sun. When I had it covered up with the tarp, because I have a tarp to, if this gets wet, it's gonna dissolve. So that's why I have a tarp to cover everything up while I'm, you know, not working on the car. And we had crazy rainstorm, and you know, it's all still intact and solid. But yeah, so right now, finish that in the next couple of days, and then start working on this. You know, every day I look at it, like right now, the kind of like the plan for the car is I'm gonna have this feature as the bumper, and I'm gonna have a lip that comes and connects the bottom with two struts, not struts, but like two fiberglass or carbon fiber supports, kind of like, you know, the Ferraris have those flaps like this, but ours would be like this. So like, because this is all going to be bonded into the body, so what I'm thinking is if I scrape or crack the lip or hit anything, I don't have to cut this whole thing out and replace it. I could just unbolt the bottom section and, you know, make a new one and pop it back up. So like this, the top's always protected from, you know, damage, while the bottom could, you know, it would be a cheap fiberglass, maybe with a carbon fiber layer on top just to look good. And I wouldn't care as much if I messed it up or not. So I think that's kind of the route I'm gonna go with the front, just to keep, because let's say I do go on, you know, static and not bags, this car's gonna scrape everywhere. So I gotta keep that in mind. Alright, so I'm wrapping up part 12 here. Today's actually my birthday, so I'm gonna go have some cake and relax and have a drink or two with the family and whatever. But as you guys saw in the time lapse, I got pretty much the whole fender here. Let me turn around and show you guys. So you guys saw in the time lapse, I started doing the whole bottom section. I didn't catch this part too much on camera, but you can see I kind of filled up this whole thing and sanded it just a little bit. Nothing crazy, because I'm not gonna laminate any of this stuff because right now it's still like in the 50s and 60s. So I don't wanna, laminate it. The resin doesn't cure properly. So I'm just gonna leave this alone until it gets into the 70s so I could go ahead and laminate it. But yeah, you guys saw right here, I was adding, let me step back a little bit for the camera. So I'm not gonna do this today, but in the next video, this is all gonna be done. I'm not gonna just keep recording everything. So this needs a little work here, but this whole fender, I covered with the glazing putty. You can see, working on getting the lines nice and crisp. It's very, very smooth. This was sanded with a 240, so this is like freaking not mirror finish, but like perfect. Like there's no bumps, no nothing. So this tape line I left so you could see the body line, so I didn't want to mess that up. The next step after this, once I finish sanding everything, again I have to wait for 70s because the primer I bought sprays best around 70 to 80. So when it hits in the 70 degrees, I'm gonna go ahead and primer this whole fender from like here, like this whole section is gonna be primered. Obviously I'm not gonna go down here too much, but I'm gonna primer pretty much from like right here backwards, because right here when the bumper gets bonded on, I'm gonna have to grind and primer and everything. But I just want to primer just so it's visually, like it's an aesthetic. When I'm working on the bumper, I can look at this as one color, not like 5-6 different colors right now. So yeah. Alright, so if you guys enjoyed this longer format style of videos, just drop a comment below or give this video a thumbs up, so I know, like, okay, I'll keep putting 30-40 minute long videos out of just working on the car and a little bit of a conversation. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the whole build process of the Corvette, and I'll see you guys in the next video.